Hey people, how are you? Nice to see you. Today I'm gonna talk about the Canon EOS R5 and Canon EOS R6 that I'm currently filming on and try to help all those people struggling which camera to buy. I've been using these cameras for almost 6 months now. I would say the R5 a bit longer, but the R6 I got a month or 2 months after the R5. And I've been using them in a hybrid environment, so I've been doing photography on a really high level, and also I've been doing video as a filmmaker, and I've been doing social media ads, so I know my way with both sides of the story. Now I'm gonna try and help you decide which one to buy. It's your decision, I'm just here to help. Let's start. First, let's talk about what's good about the R6. The price. Definitely, like it's 30% cheaper compared to the R5. Also, it has a smaller file size, which is a plus for a lot of people, especially considering you will save a lot of money on hard drives. It will make your workflow faster with small files. And considering Canon's compressed RAW is basically not losing anything. When you compress the RAW, I was comparing files compressed and not compressed. I didn't see any difference. And this camera, the R6 has only like 9 megabyte files when you're shooting compressed RAW, which is impressive. Since it has only 20 megapixel sensor, it can use better EF lenses, especially the old ones, which were made to resolve the image of basically a sensor up to 16 to 20 megapixels. When they were produced, the sensors were never large. I think a lot of lenses were produced when the highest megapixels from Canon was 16 or 18. A lot of lenses will work much better with the R6 than the R5, and that can help you again save money because you can buy really good glass and adapt it to the R6 without losing anything, basically, because with the adapter even it works a bit better regarding autofocus. It's a win-win. And also both card slots are SD, which is good because then you just have one type of the card, and a lot of people that will buy this camera will probably have a lot of SD cards. They will not have to invest in new cards. Also, these cards are cheaper. Regarding video, I think that even in 4K, 50 and 60, this camera delivers a really high quality image, maybe even slightly better than the R5, regarding sharpness at least. R6 also has a better cooldown performance, so when it overheats, it will cool down much faster. It will cool down while filming in 1080p, any mode, like even 120 frames per second, and also while shooting photos. So let's talk about what is maybe not that good about the R6. First, let's mention the megapixel count. Like for a lot of people, 20 megapixels is just not enough. If you're like wildlife shooter, sport photographers also need sometimes room to crop. And if you're doing fine art prints, then you need a lot of megapixels. For fashion also, for retouching. So there is a lot of use case scenarios where high megapixels are needed. Then R6 maybe it's not your first choice. Although the 20 that it has can be blown up to, I would say, 30, and then it will be probably the same as the R or 5D Mark IV. And also regarding advertising work, I would say for billboards you don't have to think about it, because for billboards actually 5 to 8 megapixels is enough. But if you're doing like advertising for magazines that will be printed in magazines, sometimes 20 maybe it's not enough because they will need to crop it in different aspect ratios. So in some cases maybe it's not a good choice. But I've been using my 1DX that had 18 megapixels for a lot of commercial stuff, and I think with 20 you can manage, but it'll be easier with more. Another thing that people were bashing on this camera, the R6, is the color science. For me, that was not a big of a problem because basically, since I own almost every professional Canon camera, I've noticed that all the cameras had a slightly different color science from model to model. So for me, that was like something that I expected, because the sensors are different, so it's really hard to match the color science. In video, I noticed that the Canon R6 has a slightly greenish, warmer tone compared to the R5. It is easily corrected if you know how to do it, but for some people, if they are using more cameras, that could be a problem. And then the one thing that I hate the most is the mode dial. I would prefer if they kept the same body as the R and the R5. I would prefer if it didn't have the mode dial. For some people that's important, especially if you're working in a low light situations, then the screen is really useful because you can lit it up and see all the info on it. Two more things that are making it, I would say, worse than the R5 is the screen quality and the viewfinder quality. The R5 has just a better one, but for me the one in the R6 was never a problem. I only see the difference when I switch from camera to camera when I'm using both at the same time. And one more thing regarding video that a lot of people are not happy about: the R6 doesn't have 4K that does not overheat. So if you need to shoot a long video, you need to have external recorder, as I'm doing now, to prevent the camera to overheat. So now let's talk about the R5. This camera is amazing. It has 45 megapixels, which is good enough for any type of photography work. If you're a professional photographer, this will cover all your needs. It has also 12 frames per second mechanical and 20 electronical, so it has the same frame rates as 20 megapixel R6. So it's really good for wildlife and also for sports. I'm also a sport photographer. I do work for Red Bull, so there is a lot of sport photography involved in these photo shoots that I'm having for them. For me, this will be a perfect all-in-one solution with amazing autofocus that both the R6 and R5 have. This is, regarding photography, from my opinion, the best thing you can buy currently regarding price and what you get for it. Regarding video, compared to the R6, it has more options. It has 8K RAW. Internally, it can shoot up to 120 frames per second in 4K, and also there are two more different compressions, OI and IPB, and I think they will also introduce some more with the future updates. I hope they will, and also that makes it much better for video for a lot of use case scenarios. Especially if you attach the Ninja V to it, you can shoot up to 60 frames per second without the overheating problem. In high quality mode also. It also has a better color science. I think these files are slightly easier to edit. I think that is because this camera has a better dynamic range in video. Also, the R5 compared to the R6 has a better menu system. I think it has more options. Not a lot more, but still it has more, which is needed for professional use. And one important thing for photojournalists is that the rate button can be used to record your voice. When you take photo, you can attach voice to it, so when you are sending it to your editor, he will know what you took photo of. And compared to the R6, it's more future-proof, considering it has 8K, 4K in really high quality modes. You will probably be able to use this camera for 4 to 5 years in professional environment easily. So now let's talk about what is not that great about the R5 compared to the R6. First, the obvious, the price. So it's like 30% more expensive than the R6, and that's a lot of money to consider when you're buying a camera. It also needs more time to cool down compared to the R6. I think that is connected to the weather sealing and also the files being more complex, considering they have more megapixels and they're like up to 8K. You can prevent that by using the Ninja Atomos 5 and record externally if you're afraid of that, if you're doing like long talks. This camera has a 45 megapixel sensor, which is basically good, but it has its own problems. You need new lenses to use this sensor to full potential. So basically you need to change a lot of lenses to make the best of it, and that will add to the additional cost. Regarding cost, there is also CF Express cards. I have 256 gigabyte card inside that cost me almost 500 euros, and it was on a discount, so that's also something that you have to think about it. If you want to use the full potential of this camera, you have to buy this card. Also, larger files will slow down your workflow, and you will need more space to save all those files, so additional cost and loss of time. One more thing regarding video, this camera does not have 1080p 120 frames per second. I hope they will change it with the future firmware updates, because sometimes I really need that, especially if I'm doing vertical video. There is no need to shoot in 4K for that. So now, when I said basically what is good and bad about both of these cameras, let's conclude. I would say that the R6 is a good choice for a lot of people. Most people will just be pleased with it, especially if you're like content creator doing a video for social media. Then you are probably planning everything, you have time to consider everything, you're filming sequence by sequence. Or if you're like hybrid shooter doing photo and video together, I think the overheating probably will not be a problem, as it's not for me. And if you're thinking that the overheating of the R6 will be a problem for you, you can always invest in the Atomos Ninja V and just use it as a really great video camera. Regarding photography, I can say that this is a perfect camera for wedding photographers, sport photographers. I use it a lot for my personal social media stuff and that stuff, because it's just easier to handle all these files. 20 megapixels is more than enough for a lot of stuff. The only problem for a lot of people will be just the workflow. If you're doing a lot of interviews and that stuff, for video I think the Ninja is must have. And also if you're running gun and the size matters, in that case maybe, I don't know, the overheating can be a problem if you need to film more than like 30 minutes at once. And about the R5, I think this is just a perfect camera for me. It's amazing, it's just a workhorse. Regarding photography, I don't need to buy anything else for, I would say, forever. 45 megapixels is more than enough for everything that I do, from portraits, high advertising, social media, any type of work that I do for sports, for my personal needs, and also like 12 frames per second that both cameras have, and 20 with the electronic shutter will help me to do better sport images when I do my Red Bull projects. Regarding video, actually this camera also fits my needs really well. For some of you probably will not be good enough. The overheating can be a problem, but as I said, the Ninja V makes additional cost, but it will make this camera a video beast, considering how good the quality of the files are, and you still have an amazing photo camera. If you're a hybrid shooter, if you're like one-man army, then in this case, this is just a perfect tool. Depending on what type of work you do, if you're doing like commercials like I do, like short commercials, music videos, this is amazing camera. For a lot of people, I think this is a better choice, considering it will be more future-proof than the R6. So which one to buy? I just went and buy both of them. For my type of work, I do really versatile work. R5 is my main camera, but the R6 is a good backup solution. If you buy the R6, you will not make the mistake. There is a lot of advantages, as I said, over the R5, especially if you're upgrading from the older DSLR and you have a lot of EF-L lenses. Then you will have a really great camera to work with those lenses, and the EF adapter works incredible, so I think it's a really good choice, especially if you don't need the high megapixel files. Regarding video, I think there is like 4K 120 is not that important for a lot of use case scenarios, but if you need 4K 20, then this is the only everything you can buy, but for this type like YouTube stuff, small commercials, both of these cameras are perfect, especially combined with the Ninja 5. Hope this was useful and helpful. If it was, please leave a like, leave a comment, subscribe if you didn't, and if you have any questions, ask me down there in the comment section, and I will try to respond as fast as I can and try to answer your question. Hope this was helpful. Bye.